So, hello, and this week's tip is all about a weight placement. It sounds really obvious, I know, but actually it's really important when you're dancing to be really aware of, at the basic level, which leg your weight is on. If it's on that leg, yeah, then the other leg is going to be free to be able to move or step forward or slide out or kick up or développé. But if you're not fully on that leg, you're going to struggle. If you're doing something quick, you're often having to swap your weight from one leg to the other really quickly and be really aware of which leg your weight is on. Otherwise, you'll have the wrong leg ready to go and you'll be like, oh, why is this feeling so awkward? So, a few little tips for really making sure you're really aware of your weight placement. Literally, when you first start, literally stand up. You can stand on with your legs, your knees and toes facing forward. Just stand up and then just very slightly sway from side to side and literally be really aware of which leg your weight is on. I've actually got my legs slightly turned out for stability, otherwise you might sort of fall over. Don't sway so much that you fall over, and just be really aware of which leg your weight is on. Is it on your right leg or left leg if you're looking at me? Is it on your right leg? Okay, so really think about it and then find that center and be really aware that your weight, your pressure in your feet is absolutely even on both feet. Okay, so that's the first thing. And that can apply to little kiddies. You can get them swaying from side to side. If it's your kiddie that's dancing, you can get them practicing, get them to get the tea towel and swing their tea towel from side to side. They love it. They love it. If you're slightly older, you might want to do like more of a sort of specific transfer of weight movement where you're going through a little bend of the knees and stretch the legs and bend of the knees and stretch, going from one leg to the other. Also, you've got to be aware of which part of your foot your weight is on. Yes, so imagine that's my foot. You've got that's under the big toe, or it'll be there actually, big toe, little toe and heel. And your weight needs to be even between those three spots, okay? And actually, because of that, that means most of your weight, 2/3 of your weight, is actually on the balls of your feet. So what I do when I start an exercise, if I'm not 100% sure, I do a micro rise. I'm talking like a millimetre. I just do a tiny rise just to make sure that weight is on the balls of the feet. Because if you sit back on your heels and you're going to do something, it literally makes the whole movement so much more difficult. I've noticed with ballet, and I've said this before, if you're doing it correctly, it's actually easier. You might not be able to get your leg as high to start with, or it might feel like it's going to be harder. But actually, in the reality, when you do it correctly from the start and you get used to doing it with the right weight placement and in the correct manner, using the correct muscles, then you've got the best mobility and actually it works out much easier. So it's only taken me like 50 million years to learn that. But yeah, so that's something to think of this week. So you can think of like doing a tiny rise at the beginning of your exercises. You can think of making sure your weights, you're aware of which leg your weight is on, especially if you're going to do a leg row movements. Also think about like if you're going to do like a développé. I'm going a little bit more advanced here. So développé is when you unfold your leg and lift it up. You want to make sure again there's that tiny rise, because what that stops you doing is leaning back onto your heels, and then that throws everything off and makes the leverage to get that leg up in the air even harder. Think of yourself like a crane. Yeah, your body's the sort of standing bit of the crane. I don't know the exact terms. Your body's the standing part. Your leg is the arm of the crane. So if you've got the ballast, if you've got everything nice and strong and placed and all balanced, that's half the battle won. Another thing to help with your weight placement is thinking of yourself as being stacked like a game of Jenga. So think of like your ears over your shoulders, shoulders over your hips, hips over the balls of your feet, and that will really help you start from a good spot. Because if that's already balanced, like I said, like a game of Jenga, if it's all nice and neat and smooth and all the little blocks are one on top of the other, half the battle's won. You don't have to worry. Yeah, if they're all a bit wonky, you've got bit sticking out, you're a bit leaning to one side, and obviously I'm exaggerating here, but if you're not actually in a straight line, then you're going to create tension as your body kind of tries to compensate to hold itself strong because you're off center or if you're off balance or something like that. So it's really important to think about where your weight is and making sure that you start from a place of centre, and then that you're really aware when you do move, because basically that's what dancing is, it's moving from one place to the other, but a bit fancy. And as you do move, be aware of which leg your weight is on to help you out. Okay, so that gives you some food for thought for your classes today, this week rather, and hopefully see you soon for some more ballet tips.